Hi everyone, my name is Taimi Arencibia,
Hi, my name is Catherine.
Hi, my name is Brianna.
and today we're presenting our behavior interventional plan for an increase of physical activity for the senior seminar in applied behavior analysis class.
When it came to choosing a problem behavior to target, we thought about a common problem behavior we all struggled with that we would have liked to improve, and we found that previous attempts to increase workout frequencies throughout the week had occurred but failed to do due to varying circumstances. Some of those circumstances being participants were either too busy with their family, work got in the way, school assignments got in the way. So because of that, there was a lack of proper reinforcement and just procedures in general. So taking that into account, participants were not reaching their ideal amount of participation in physical activities. They wanted to work on their inactivity and increase their weekly physical activity. This intervention also targeted the improvement of participants' overall health. The social significance of these improvements being participants would hopefully see an improvement in their mood, a reduced sense of stress and anxiety, as well as increased accountability, just to name a few of the positive benefits. Potentially finding another supportive community in their lives was also a positive benefit that could range from this. When taking into account ethical considerations, one ethical consideration we took into account was the participants face the risk of bodily injury if physical activity was conducted incorrectly. So in order to prevent this, we took steps. The first step being participants were tested to ensure they were all healthy and in proper health condition to participate. In order to ensure this, participants had to be checked by a medical professional and approved for the intervention beforehand to minimize risk of any health issues arising during the intervention. For step 2, participants were educated on proper forms of exercise. This included providing videos with demonstrations of how to do each exercise and use each machine, as well as having a coach monitoring their first couple of sessions to observe everything was being properly done. For the third steps, participants were given educational material and shown videos of the danger of overstressing their bodies. Both the educational material and videos discussed ways to prevent overstressing their body, as well as the consequences that come with it in order to educate the participants. Some of the main symptoms of overtraining could include fatigue, insomnia, excessive soreness, just to name a few. Another ethical consideration we took in account that could arise during the intervention was participants could take supplements to increase their physical activity. So steps had to be taken in order to dissuade this from occurring. Step 1 being participants were educated on the topic of negative supplements. They were given educational material on the negative effects, as well as showing educational videos of people talking about the negative consequences firsthand. For the second step, participants were given tests to check for any negative supplements in their system every week. This was so that participants would know that we would find out for sure and they would be held accountable.
For our research summary, we chose 3 articles that were related to our intervention. The title of our first article is Increasing Physical Activity Through Self-Monitoring, Goal Setting, and Feedback. The author for this article is Matthew P. Normand, and it was published by John Wiley and Sons in their Behavioral Intervention volume in 2008. 4 participants aged 39 to 59 took part in the study to increase their overall step intake. They wore pedometers throughout the intervention and reported their daily step totals once per day. Weekly goals were set for the participants depending on their step count, and they were able to choose rest days ahead of time. The participants were reinforced with praise and encouragement from the experimenter after each step count was submitted and during their weekly face-to-face meetings. Overall, the results showed that participants were able to increase their step count through the implementation of intervention. So this article is related to our treatment plan because it is looking pretty much to increase um, the same goal as us, which is to increase the physical activity every week. There are some differences in that they're just looking for step count and we're measuring the overall duration and frequency of activity per week. But there were some things that we took into account from this study and used them in our treatment plan. So, for example, we took into account that they chose rest days ahead of time, and we did the same thing by choosing certain days of the week to work out that were predetermined in order to improve the efficacy of the intervention. And also we did find that taking data every single day and recording it also helped us in implementing the treatment plan. The second article that we chose for our research summary is titled Practice and Ethical Considerations for Behavior Analysts in Health, Sports, and Fitness. The authors for this article are Meredith A. Holland and Julie M. Slowiak, and it was published by the American Psychological Association in 2021. This article overviews 3 important considerations to take as a behavioral analyst working in the field of health, sports, and fitness, or HSF. The first consideration that the article explains is regarding obtaining a BCBA certification for those interested specifically in working in HSF. Secondly, it has a brief overview of scope of practice and competence regarding HSF. And finally, it describes ethical situations and questions that may arise when working in HSF as a behavioral analyst. So from this article, the main point that stuck out to us was the ethical situations and questions that may arise. The article summarizes a few different situations that could potentially happen when working in HSF. And from reading this article, we found that almost pretty much all of the answers lie in the BACB ethics code. So we definitely took that into mind while implementing our interventions, and we tried to adhere to those guidelines as much as we possibly could. The third and final article that we chose for our research summary is titled Internet-Based Contingency Management Increases Walking in Sedentary Adults. The authors for this article are Allison N. Curdy and Jesse Dallery, and it was published by the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis in 2013. 12 sedentary adults over the age of 50 participated in the study to increase their step intake. The study consisted of 2 experiments. In the first experiment, participants were given a Fitbit to wear throughout the implementation of the study in order to track their steps. They were asked to log their daily steps onto a website that also displayed their personal graphs and monetary compensations. So in the first experiment, the participants were reinforced with monetary compensations depending on whether or not they met their daily step intake. The results for the first experiment showed that the interventions did allow all of the participants to increase their overall daily step count, and also there was very little variability throughout the weeks. The second experiment followed the same exact guidelines from the first experiment, aside from the monetary consequences. So the second experiment did not have any monetary compensation for completing the daily step intake. And 5 out of 6 participants were able to increase their daily step count from experiment 2, but there was more variability throughout the weeks compared to experiment 1. So the main takeaway that we got from this article that helped us during our treatment plan is that it really highlighted the importance of having a good reinforcer while implementing any of the reinforcer procedures. And as we can see from this article in experiment 2, even though some of the participants were able to increase their daily step count, they didn't necessarily meet the goal that was set for them. And there was also a lot more variability throughout the week. So they didn't perform just as good or better from previous weeks every single week compared to experiment 1, where all of the participants were able to meet the daily step count that was set for them, and there was very little variability throughout the weeks. The summary of functional behavior assessment is next, and the description of the functional assessment is that the assessment that was conducted was an open-ended functional assessment interview. So each participant answered questions regarding the problem behavior, which was lack of weekly exercise. And the assessment focused on potential triggers and consequences after physical activity attempts. So, as a result of the functional assessment, we did find that the main trigger for the lack of exercise for the participants was lack of time. And to add on, the results also showed that the participants did not implement proper consequences after attempting physical exercise. However, there were reinforcement procedures in place for a lack of physical activity. So when participants did try to participate in physical exercise in the past, there was no reinforcement for exercising. But when there was no exercise, in the case where a participant said that they were going to exercise and did not exercise, there were reinforcement procedures in place, such as doing something, another activity of choice, that was more favorable in that moment instead of exercising. So those were the main causes of the lack of exercise in the case of our participants.
All right, a summary of treatment package. The goal of the treatment plan is to increase the frequency and duration of the physical activity to 4 out of 7 days per week for a duration of at least 30 minutes each section. Antecedent intervention. Okay, the participants will schedule workouts before the start of their regular date schedule activities. For example, if everybody had to start by 8 a.m., they would wake up like 2 hours before so that they had enough time to work out and be ready by 8 so that they can start the rest of their day. In additional, participants will go to bed before, like earlier than normal regular hours, so that they can sleep better and, have more energy towards the next day to do their exercise schedule. So for reinforcement procedures, participant will be reinforced on an FR1 schedule with a tangible reinforcer. And reinforcers include like one smoothie or an episode of their favorite show after the workout so that they can work out more. All right, the dimension of the behavior trackers. Was the frequency of physical activity each participant took in part. The rationale is choosing this dimension is that participants desire to be more active in their daily lives, and increase in physical activity will help achieve this. Data reliability was ensured by having each participant observe while completing physical activity and recording their data. So basically, participants were monitored throughout the combinations of video conference or in-person time slots. Participants sometimes completed their physical activities in person, and some days online through video calls with other participants. The data tracks frequency per week of physical activity reach or exceed the 30 minutes per section. The data show progress within the intervention. All participants baseline had no exercise per week, although there is a slight variability on workout frequency throughout the weeks of implementation. Participants were able to maintain at least 4 workouts each week, lasting 30 minutes or more. There are some weeks in which participants were able to exceed 4 workouts and do 5 due to having extra time throughout the week or a less busy day. Overall, the results show that the antecedent and reinforcement procedures implemented have allowed participants to increase workout frequency. Basically, the bar graph of the workout trackers show per week a total of 10 weeks how all the participants were able to reach 4 days of workouts, and some of the weeks they exceeded to 5 days per week, 5 times a week of the workout. So they were trying to work a little bit harder some weeks than regular, but they completed their workouts for 4 days a week. All right. Thank you for listening, and this is the end of our presentation. Have a good day.